We have 11 amazing restaurants featuring a wide variety for every price range and appetite. South Point's Garden Buffet has something for everyone at unbeatable prices. Or, if hunger strikes in the middle of the night, join us at Coronado Cafe. The American menu offers breakfast, lunch, or dinner 24 hours a day, plus a Chinese kitchen for authentic Chinese dishes from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. From steak and eggs to wonton soup, it's fast and friendly service 24/7. When you need a quick pick-me-up, you can find it at our state-of-the-art Starbucks just inside the main South Point entrance. Order ahead with the Starbucks app for easy mobile order pickups. Or enjoy your favorites in the relaxing dining area anytime, day or night. If you love Mexican food, Baja Miguel's has all of your south-of-the-border favorites. There are dozens of classics to choose from, like fajitas, ceviche, chimichangas, tacos, and more. And for spirit lovers, Baja's colorful non-smoking tequila bar is right outside. Or maybe you're in the mood for seafood. Big Sur Oyster Bar has fresh seafood prepared right before your eyes. Savor freshly shucked oysters, crab legs jambalaya, shrimp and lobster. Beers on tap and a selection of fine wines are perfect to pair with your seafood favorite. Whether lunch or dinner, you'll love this fun atmosphere, located just off the casino floor. Ready to shake things up? Step back in time and treat yourself to one of the oldest restaurant chains in the country. Steak and Shake, famous for original mouth-watering steak burgers and hand-dipped milkshakes in a variety of flavors. For some old-fashioned fun, try Steak and Shake.
Happy Tuesday, everybody, and welcome in. Thanks so much for joining us here. This is Sports by the Book. We are live in the South Point studio. I'm Alex White alongside Kenny White. Here on this show, we try and talk about as many sports as we can and give you the best information that we can to make some smart, educated sports bets. 2 games last night. If you had the favorites and you got the best of the number with the Falcons, you did good. And 2 unders. Minnesota wins 30-12 over the Bears. And then Atlanta wins an ugly one here in Las Vegas over the Raiders 15-9. So if you got that 6, it was a push for you. We like to give out our plays on our whiteboards each day, and for better or for worse, we have to go through them the next day. And yesterday was ugly for me. I had the over in the Raiders game, and that was not even close. Brock Bowers did not score a touchdown. My 2 games on the hardwood got there, though. The Nuggets and Air Force covered for me. Oilers did not get their revenge game, and I didn't get enough goals on the ice between the Avs and the Canucks. But you got there with Vancouver, taking that good plus price. How are the rest of your plays? And good morning.
Hey, good morning, Alex. I need some bandages to cover up the wounds. It was a rough day yesterday. NBA, and I talk about this all the time. When you get to this time of year, results are really unpredictable. And I've always said 1 out of 4 games is a fluke result in the first place. I think this time of year, 3 out of 4 results are fluke results. A blocked extra point in the NFL, that happens 1 in a million. And I took 6 on the game and tied myself, but it was an easy winner. You're kicking an extra point. Those are easy to make. Bijan Robinson went over in his rushing yards. I did get Vancouver in, but Caleb Williams, the Minnesota defense really stepped up, played well. He didn't get to 224 passing yards. Bears were not even close. Lose with them. And then the Piston game, amazing. They scored 97 points themselves after 3 quarters. Again, all the results in the NBA for me were upside down, and I blame it on this time of year, and that's why you really got to manage your money and bet conservatively all year, but more than any time this time of year.
And you did actually say that yesterday. So very ironic that we had a day like that on a Monday, but hoping to turn some things around for the rest of the week. We do still have a lot of exciting games coming up, including tonight, NBA Emirates Cup Finals between the Bucks and the Thunder. We're going to break down that game. I know you have medians too for us to look at some player props. And then coming up this weekend, we do have 4 playoff games, and we're going to try and hit on at least the Indiana Indiana and Notre Dame today at the second half of the show. That one is Friday night, and then there is 3 on Saturday. We'll probably get to those 3 in tomorrow's episode, but we also have a lot of hockey on the board and college basketball. Of course, there is one bowl game, which you could probably talk about this more than most, but it is a tough time to bet on bowl games. And I know in the past, professional sports bettors really like to dive in and kind of attack the bowl season. And now with the opt-outs and the transfer portal, you really have to just get as much information as you can. And it's almost like who has the best information, right, between you and the bookmaker? What do you know? So tonight we do have Memphis and West Virginia. It is the Frisco Bowl. Memphis lane 6 and the total 60.5, but not much for myself in that bowl game. I don't know if you have anything, but just wanted to bring that up, that there is one tonight, and then kind of turn our attention, though, to the NBA, because we have been following the NBA since the start of the season, and you've been very good at this in-season tournament, knowing that there's more motivation. The players really care. You can handicap it. You could just go off of your numbers, and now we have a really good matchup here tonight. Could potentially be an NBA Finals matchup. Milwaukee Bucks, Oklahoma City Thunder. We saw what the run that the Thunder went on last year, one of the best teams in the West, and now they are laying 5 here in this finals game. Total 216. It's probably just an easy way out of handicapping, but how do you not take 5 points with Giannis and Dame and the Milwaukee Bucks and the way that they are playing? Rough start, but they really have turned it on, and they're playing some of their best basketball right now.
Yeah, 10-2 over the last 12 games after the bad start, and they're playing great right now. They are a bona fide playoff team that has a chance to win the NBA championship. So I get it. Oklahoma City has been incredible. When you look at the offensive and defensive numbers, 116 points per game per 100 possessions, and they allow only 104. And that number was in the 90s for the longest time. But you knew it couldn't stay there. It's like a hitter hitting 400. He's not going to hit 400 because it's the numbers, it gets more difficult as you go. But OKC at 104 is still an incredible defensive number. I wish I had broken down the Bucks last 12 games because they would look just like Oklahoma City's. And you're right. I made OKC 2.5 in this game. I didn't think I'd get a play on it. I was shocked when I saw the line was 5. This is a neutral court here in Vegas. So, give me Giannis and Dame plus 5 points.
I am curious. I want to see what Dame's numbers move to now. But you did medians for points, rebounds, and assists, and kind of a combination prop bet that you can make as well. So I'm going to take a look and see if that moved at all, because we did jump in on Dame's combination.
Yeah, we went over 33.5 yesterday.
Yes.
So I have it 40. I thought that's what his points, rebounds, and assists should be. I have 26.5 points for him, 8 assists, and 4.5 rebounds. And then, you can't, make those numbers and then you can't add those up to do a points, rebounds, and assists. It's really funny because some players do better in one of the 2 categories, right, or really weaker in one of the 3 categories. So when you run your spreadsheets and when you run medians, you'll get a different number, because if I add mine up, they come up to 39. But when I did my points, rebounds, and assists, came up to 40. And that's because of one category being better than the others in those games. But 33.5, that's a low number for an all-star player. And
you were right, it did go up. It is at the book that we used, it is already 34.5 now for him. That is exactly what you said. It would probably move up.
Yeah, and I think it'll still go up. That's the one guy that we talked about, star player, that his number was lower, and everybody loves overs. And this game was hard to make a total on. If it was a regular season game, I would make it 231. It opened 214.5 here at South Point, went to 215.5. I didn't check this morning where it is now, but it's got to be somewhere in that range. I don't think
216.
So it did go up even a little bit more. But I made a 231 regular season game. This is a championship game. There's money on the line. I like these type of games under because of that fact. So I took 10 points off my total, made it 221. I'm not going to bet it over, but I think that it's a playoff type game, and that's, what I take off my playoff games.
Well, pretty incredible, even with the Hawks and the Bucks we saw on Saturday. 233 was the closing number. That final was 212. And then Houston and OKC, which we know both very good defensive teams, closed at 215. Final 207. So saw two unders on Saturday in the semifinals. Curious if we can see another one here.
Yeah.
People have just been blindly betting unders in this in-season tournament. They've probably done fairly well.
Neutral court games and for the money, and there's so much meaning. And that's why I like this tournament, because there is so much more meaning to these games. And as I look at yesterday, those games meant nothing to those players. They could have cared less about yesterday's games. They just went out and played and went through the motions, and no one played defense. And I had 3 under bets, and all 3 not even were close. And that's because they didn't care. They could have cared less. But why are the games going under in this? Because they care.
Right. Let's look at some of their points. Again, did you go through SGA and Giannis too? Because I know we just said we like Dame's points, rebounds, and assists. But is there? Let's see if there's any plays anywhere
Giannis,
else.
I have 32.5 points scoring.
Okay.
And 11.5 rebounds.
Let me grab that points. I'm switching apps here to try and see if there's better numbers, but I might just have to stay on this one. So player points.
32.5. Probably right around that. I can't see him.
Oh, this is
being
alternate
less than
points.
that.
That's why.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 30.5 points. You got 3 players that could get 30 points in this game. Dame I have at 26.5, but Giannis 32.5 and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander 30.5.
There we go. So Giannis 30.5, SGA 32.5, and Dame 23.5.
Yeah, I would look at SGA under. I want to get as many unders as I can. I made it 30.5. And you have points, rebounds, and assists there. You want to go to that? Or
I have combo, yeah.
Combo?
Points, assists, and rebounds.
Okay.
Giannis 48.5.
Yeah, I have him 49.5. So that's right there.
It is juiced to the over, minus 125. SGA 43.5.
See, I think that's a little high too. I have him at 40.5. He's not a big time rebounder, so he's going to have to get you. He's going to need to get that 33 points, and I don't know if he does in a championship game like this. So I would go under there as well.
And then we already talked about Dame, and then I believe you do have Jalen Williams.
Jalen Williams, yeah, I have Jalen Williams 22.5 points, 32.5 points, rebounds, assists.
That is where the book has him as well.
All right.
So nothing there. So maybe just an under for SGA. Would you rather go in points or have the combo of the 3 to go under 43.5?
Probably the combo, because if he does not do well in one of the categories, then the combo goes under. You got a little better advantage there. Again, he doesn't get offensive rebounds, and he gets about 4 defensive rebounds a game. 6.5 assists.
6.5 assists.
And again, if this game is supposed to be lower scoring than my numbers indicate, these numbers are maybe all a little too high, but we had a really good edge on Dame, and that's why we went over 33.5.
And then just looking at their rebounds, Dame right now 6.5 over, minus 154.
Who's that?
Dame.
6.5?
It is 6.5. Yep.
Lillard's rebounds are 6.5?
No, this is assist.
Oh, okay, I was going to say.
You were going under.
Yeah, I only had a 4.5, but I'm at 8 assists in the game. But see, and we're not expecting as much scoring. My total was 231, and I moved it down 10 points. I don't think I really took that into consideration with the player props. So I could understand it being lower.
Well, big price there. If you want to go over, it's minus 154, and I don't think you like to lay that much juice on a.
Not interested in that, yeah, especially on an over. If I had made it 6.5 and it was 8, I would consider it, because it would take 9 to beat you at that point. But no, I don't think so. The one play that stood out that we bet, Lillard over 33.5 points, rebounds, and assists, was the best value out of any of these. The rest of them are very close. You're kind of flipping a coin to to bet on any of these under other props. But I would bet SGA under 43.5. I have a 3-point edge there, and it's supposed to be under.
And then taking the points here with the Milwaukee Bucks.
Taking the Bucks, yeah. Taking the Bucks.
Especially with that low total.
It's going to be a war. Milwaukee's getting healthy. Chris Middleton back. They just have a really good team, and Chet Holmgren is out for OKC, but they played well without him, but they're just not as good a team as if they would have had Chet Holmgren in the lineup. So Milwaukee's as healthy as they're going to be, and OKC's missing a star player.
And this is, of course, just right down the street in Las Vegas at the T-Mobile. Should be a really good game between these two. I'm looking forward to watching that. It is 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. But let's go through some hockey and some college hoops before we get into our college football. And we have not given out our top 10 college football. We didn't do it last week, so we will go through that based off of the last 12 teams that we have in the playoffs. So we'll get to that in about 15 minutes as well after our break in between. But shifting over, we're going to go to some hockey, kind of quickly go through these games and see if anything jumps out. Starting with the Sabres, they're on a 10-game losing streak, so that needs to be added in to this number here.
It probably at this point we shouldn't even have them a favorite, but that's a 50-cent adjustment. We would make Montreal 108, and Buffalo's still the favorite in the game.
Buffalo is still the favorite. The Canadians are 11-16-3, so they are having a rough season as well. A little bit better at home, 8-7-2. Buffalo 5-7-1 on the road, but like I said, 10-game losing streak, so nothing in that one. Going to the Kings and the Penguins. The Kings have been on a nice little run here. They're pretty high up in their division now. Books have them as a pretty high favorite. 140 here at the South Point, and total 6.
The Kings open $1.40. There hasn't been any movement on it. A little money to the under in this game. Kind of surprising. Pittsburgh has gone over 6 straight home games now.
Yes, that is a nice little trend there. So a little bit of a lean there. I do think we have a play in this next game. It is, we do have a backup goalie for Columbus in Jet Greaves, but we've got the Blue Jackets and Tampa Bay. Tampa, a big favorite, minus 250. Total just 6 over, minus 120. So I like that over. We've got it 7.
Well, there are a lot of 6.5s now in the market. The only 6 is that the Circa. Surprising that they probably take the biggest bet of anyone and have the least juice of any book on hockey, and they only have 6 over 22. Everyone else is at 6.5 under. South Point has the best number, probably 6.5 under 15. And you got the backup goalie going, as you mentioned. Tampa has gone over 4 straight home games. But Columbus, again, they had that big run of overs at home. I don't know what their over-under is on the road. They've actually gone under 2 in a row on the road. So their over-under rating is 3.45 both home and away. I would expect that their home should be much higher than their away.
Yeah, we can definitely dive into that and look at that. But Elvis Merzlikins, you've talked about him. You do think he's a better goalie than gets credit for, and I have watched a couple of those games that I thought would be over, and him played very well. So without him in there, I do think this is still a good over bet. Tampa Bay number 1 right now in goals for, averaging 4 per game. And Columbus, they're 30th in goals against, 3.58 on average, and they can still score. They're tied for 10th in goals for at 3.23. So still like that one, especially if you can get that 6, then potentially push, but just need 7 to win that.
Yeah, and that is the only 6 in the world. Everyone else is at 6.5 on that, but still it's worth a play. I mean, you have 2 very, very high scoring teams.
Yes. Let's go to the Canes.
Canes right now here at the South Point, open 210, bet up to 220. The total 5.5 over has been bet up to 6 under.
2 good goaltenders here, and the Canes have kind of stop their over streak because they were just scoring a lot. They are 4th right now in goals for 3.6, but they are 8th in goals against at 2.87. So they've really turned it around defensively. Probably not a game I'm dying to bet over, even though it is 6 here. So some 5.5s out there, but
yeah, it's moved up to 6 pretty much everywhere. 6.5 under. FanDuel has a 5.5 over. That's the only book, and you can't bet FanDuel here in Nevada.
yes.
Rangers and Predators. Predators have had a tough go of it with all the new pickups, but a lot of money on them today here at the South Point. Nashville opened 110 up to 135. The total 6 under 15.
Well, we've got Nashville 1-6-3 in their last 10 games, and we've got the Rangers who are 3-7. So it's been tough for New York and Shesterkin. 10-11-1 record, 3.08 goals against. So it's been a little bit of a struggle there. So which team do you trust more here to try and have a get-right spot against one another?
Nashville's lost 3 in a row at home. I mean, you could add 15 cents to your number on the Rangers. You'd make it 122, and you'd have about a 30-cent edge there. You'd if you use that to adjust your number, you'd have to bet the Rangers today.
I don't mind it at all. I do think that think they should still be the favorite in this one against the Predators, but the Sharps still loving Nashville. And
I don't know why they've been losing money on them all year long. The day they don't bet them, that'll be the day they win. Devils at the Blues, and the Devils having a really good year and a lot of money coming in on them today. South Point opened $1.70 up to $1.80, 5.5 over 15.
I have to say, I do not love this number here with having the Devils just $1.50 on the road. I think they need to be bumped up a little bit, though. 20-10-3 on the year, 11-4 on the road. And then on the flip side, I think I've had the Blues a little bit too high, and they are just 6-7-1 at home. So we're going to pass.
Well, if you had the 15, the Devils are on a 3-game winning streak on the road. If you had 15 cents at, you're at $1.63.
Okay.
You're close, so you're not going to bet the Blues in this game. Total wise, you're at 6 under 17. The market at 5.5 over. New Jersey has gone under 6 straight games overall.
Ooh. So we'll pass on going over that 5.5 as well.
Make the adjustment. Washington, $1.65. They open here at South Point, up to $1.90. The total 6 over 15. Money on the under, down to 6 under 15.
Well, let's look at Chicago's over streak right now at home. 5 straight overs at home. So it's kind of a stay away, right? I've been talking about them being such a good under team, but it has been a streak we have not wanted to be on.
I think they've got a bunch of unders on the road, though, and the overs at home. So another one to take a look at to adjust your home and away scoring.
Yep. And Washington continuing to play really good, 8-1-1 in their last 10, 12-3 on the road this year. So it would only be a play on the Caps, but minus 190 laying that in regular season hockey. We're not doing that.
They finally lost a road game.
They did.
They had that big run going, 10 in a row, I think it was, on the road. Calgary hosting the Bruins, and the Bruins, my computer went to sleep. Bruins $1.25, South Point opened up to $1.30, and the total 5.5.
You had Calgary last week? Well, I had Calgary one day. I think you did another. Frank had it from our On Punchlines. I love the Flames at home. They're 11-4-1 at home. Their road record is not as good. Let's see if I can pull that up quick enough. But I think this is another good spot for them anytime they are at home. Looking at their road, 4-7-4 on the road, but 11-4-1 at home. So getting plus money here. I know the Bruins are a good team and they will turn it around, but I just don't think that price is correct.
Yeah, they haven't been playing like a top 10 team.
Yeah.
They're getting a little better, but not saying they should be this type of price on the road against a good home team. They've gone over 5 straight games. Your total 5.5 over 15. That's what the book has at 5.5. That might be something to take a look at, though. They've been playing some higher scoring games. You got Dan Vladar in goal for Calgary.
It may be Dustin Wolf tonight. We have to see which one of them is
That'd
actually.
be an upgrade for Calgary a little bit. I think he's a little better goalie.
I agree.
Ottawa at Seattle. South Point opened $1.15. They're up to $1.30. Money for the Senators. 5.5 over has been bet under to 5.5 under 15. You're on Seattle here.
It's tough. The Senators have been playing really good. 7-2-1 in their last 10, and it's really mostly because of Ullmark. He's really turned it on here as of late. So not really interested in the dog.
Well, you can adjust to 15 cents for the Senators' 3-game winning streak and make it 110. Little closer to passing. At that point, yeah, you only have a 20-cent play, so it's a lean, but it's not enough value to make a bet on.
Kraken are 8-7-2 at home, so not a terrible record. Definitely better at home, but yeah.
Total 6 under 17. You've got an edge, a slight edge to the over. Not sure if you're interested in that.
Let's see. Seattle 19th in goals for at 2.97 and 14th in goals against, so better defensively. And then this run that Ullmark has been on, so I think we should stay off of that one.
And then the final game, Winnipeg at San Jose. Chris and team opened Winnipeg 220. It's held steady, 6 under 15. No movement on this game.
Winnipeg finally came back down a little bit, 4-5-1 in their last 10 games after that streak that they went on. I still think that's the right number over San Jose, but they've been feisty, and let's see their last 10, 5-5 in their last 10. I think you liked them once last week too, getting that big price. Yeah.
They've gone over 4 straight home games now. So they're scoring more at home. Their defense has always been the weakness of that hockey team. Can they put, a couple pucks in the net against Hellebuck is the question.
Yeah, that's a tough ask. One of the best goalies in the league, if not the best. So really just going back down that list, the Flames plus price, the Rangers at a cheap price, or if they might even be a little plus money.
Yeah, no, the Rangers will be
right?
plus money, yeah. You can probably get plus 105 on them.
And then Blue Jackets and Tampa Bay over 6 or 6.5, best number you can get. Those are, say, the top 3.
Which one? Blue Jackets and Lightning.
Blue Jackets and Lightning.
That seems like maybe your best play over 6.5. You can get even money at most spots.
And let's turn to some college hoops. Go through those games before we dive into some college football. I will check in with the chat as well. I know Vince has already probably told me, but Curious Vegas, Bob is back, Jerry and Vince. So good morning. Hello to all of you. I'll check in and see if there's any specific questions for us, but let's go ahead and go down this college basketball slate, starting from the top here with DePaul and St. John's.
Yeah, you want to give the opener and the current, and then I'll give you what I made it.
Okay, current right now, St. John's is 12 and the total 150.
Yeah, and I have St. John's 12. I'm right on the number. I only have the total 143. DePaul's playing slow. Chris Holtzman's the head coach there. He was at Ohio State. He built Ohio State's program on a methodical basketball, rebound and defense. And that's what he's trying to do at DePaul. I don't know if he can get that done on the road. Rick Pitino wants to go up and down and play fast. So I'm going to pass. I'm not going to bet that under just because of the pace. With the favorite being the better team, I think they will control the pace.
Little bit of money. So it did open 13. They took the 13 and 12.5, but no movement on the total. It's been right there. Let's go North Carolina AT&T. Wow. Money on them open 2.5 now. Bet to 4. Total, no movement, 146.5.
Yeah, Coastal Carolina, led by Justin Gray in his first year, and that could be the reason why they had exam week, but they did play Southern Virginia, and at least did get a game in. They play extremely slow. They're going to try to keep this pace down. I made them the favorite over North Carolina A&T.
Wow.
North Carolina A&T, a very poor basketball team, and they love to run. So I'll take the 4.5 with the methodical team against the team who's, playing scattered up tempo, run and gun basketball. You make more mistakes. If you're really good, that's okay. But if you're a bad team, it's going to cost you in the long run. So yeah, I like Coastal Carolina plus the points.
Let's go to the next one. Some money on the favorite again, open 1.5, bet up to 3, total 134.5.
I like the move.
Yeah.
I made it 3 and 138. So not a lot there. We can move on.
Clemson 2-point favorite against South Carolina. Wow, we have a rematch here. Open 3, it kind of moved every which way. Open 3 went down to 1.5. Now is back up to 2 with Clemson being the favorite. Total 135.
I made Clemson 1.5. Excuse me, on the road against South Carolina. This is Brad Brownwell, 14 years at Clemson. You know what you're going to get out of him. He's got a methodical pace. They're always good defensively, but this year's team's pretty good on the offensive end, and they're off to a good start, 9-2. But they lost to Memphis in an overtime game, their last game. This is definitely their biggest game of the year because it's their biggest rival, South Carolina. And they beat South Carolina last year at home, 72-67. In the only game they played. I'm going to look back in 2023, the South Carolina game.
Yeah, I said rematch. I meant we saw it on the football field.
We saw it on the football field.
Now we see it here.
And they lost away. Both teams have won the last 2 years on their home court, so there's no revenge factor in the game, but I definitely think Clemson should be the favorite. Total-wise, I have 127.5, and looking at this 133, as I mentioned, South Carolina is going to play good defense as well as Clemson. They both play methodical pace. Neither team likes to run. So, yeah, I like this one under. I know the intensity is going to be there. These are the type of games I like to bet because you know the effort you're going to get.
Is Clemson the better defense? Or are we getting points here with the better defense at home? Kind of what we talked about yesterday.
Good question. Yeah, Clemson is the far better defense.
Okay.
But that kind of betting system was getting 3 or more.
Okay.
So right on the cusp.
But you do like under 135.
Oh, and Clemson's not at home. Clemson's on the road. They're the better defense.
Yes.
So that doesn't even come into play.
Yes. Tennessee 37, hosting Western Carolina, total 142.5. They have taken the points, opened 38.5, and now they are a 37-point favorite.
Yeah, it's all about motivation. Is Tennessee motivated to run up a score? I have a 33.5, but there's no value for me because there's not a lot of value in those numbers that high that anything can happen late in the games. You're coming down to backup players at that point. The total is right there. I made it 143.
We've got a neutral game here. Neutral site game, Florida, North Carolina. The Gators 3.5, total 167.5. No movement on the side. The total has been bet up from 166.5.
They're playing in Charlotte, North Carolina, so it's more of a North Carolina home game. I like them in this spot. I made the game 3, not giving any home advantage. I think you have to give a couple points and make the game 1. So I'll take Carolina here. This is Hubert Davis, one of the best players in the country, and R.J. Davis, no relation. Then they're playing a great team in the Gators. Todd Golden's got this team, clicking on all cylinders at 10-0, but this is definitely the most difficult game that they've played this year. They just beat Arizona State on a neutral, but they're really stepping up in class, I think, this time. I like North Carolina here to give the Gators their first loss.
Ryan is a Tar Heels fan, so I'm sure he does love to hear that. Let's go James Madison and Wake Forest. Wake, 8-point favorite, total 135.
I have 5.5. It's up to 8.5?
It is up to 8.
Up to 8, okay. Well, it was bet to a play, so I kind of passed that. Don't know, this is a much bigger game for James Madison. I made the total 138.5, so there's really nothing there.
UNLV and Dayton. Dayton, 11-point favorite at home. Not much movement. We've seen some 12s back down to 11. Total 141.
Yeah, Dayton's a good basketball team. Anthony Grant, the head coach. loves to pressure the basketball, but they've really played slow offensively. We'll see what UNLV can do here. Their defense, UNLV's defense has not been as good as I thought it was going to be. So I feel like they've kind of underachieved early in the season. Right now, that record at 5-4, it's not a record that I think that Kevin Kruger thought his team would be at right now. But they have played a difficult schedule. They've lost to the 4 good teams they've played, and they've beaten up on the 5 bad teams they played.
They have not had a big win yet this year. Florida International and East Carolina. East Carolina 7.5-point favorite. Total 143. Movement really on the total. They bet it up from 141.5.
Yeah, I made it lower, 134.5 in this game with East Carolina and Florida Atlantic. Tempo, Florida International will run. East Carolina plays slow, and they're the home team. They're the favorite. I think they kind of dictate the pace, but sometimes what happens in those kind of games when you're the better team and the dog wants to run and you're just far superior, you're going to score on them whenever you want, and you're going to probably create a lot of turnovers because they're rushing to get things done. So it's kind of a guessing game for me in a coin flip. I'm going to pass on the total, just the fact that East Carolina may push the pace a little bit more than they normally would because of the opponent today.
It's kind of a tough one, right? Because you almost want to agree with the bookmakers and think that the bettors are on the wrong side betting it over, but I like your reasoning to stay off of it as well. Let's go Duke minus 19.5, hosting George Mason, total 136. Let's see if there's any movement. Not much movement at all. Betting it under a little bit. Open 137 here at the South Point.
Yeah, and I like it under. I only have it 123.5. Duke is the best right now, the best defensive team in the country. George Mason plays slow, methodical. They're not going to try to push the pace. They're going to try to limit possessions, shorten the game. And their defense is their strength of their team. Their offense is just about average, but their defense is very, very good. I expect this to be a lower paced game. The average pace in the games of like 68, 69. I'm going to guess there's going to be 64, 65 possessions at most here in this one. So I'll go under there.
Under 136 in the George Mason and Duke game. Michigan State and Oakland, betting this one under as well. Michigan State 16-point favorite. Total open 134.5 down to 133.5.
Not much there. I made Michigan State 18.5, 138.5, and it was not a play with the opener. It becomes a play because the bettors bet it, and I don't really bet against the steam. There's no reason to. There's enough games, so I'll pass on that one.
Robert Morris getting 1 point at home against Towson. Total 131. Let's see if there's any movement here. A little bit of back and forth.
Yeah, I made Towson 1.5. I think Robert Morris was a favorite, and then it's been bet to Towson the favorite now. 2 bad teams. I tell you, Towson though plays extremely methodical. They're terrible offensively, and their strength is their defense. And this is a really good coach. Pat Scarry's the head coach there at Towson. I recommended him to be the UNLV coach at one point because he does such a great job. So understand why the money is coming to his side. Robert Morris, kind of identical. They play at a methodical pace. They're a horrible offensive team. They cannot shoot, but they do play very, very good defense. So this is another play that I like under the total.
How about St. Bonaventure, 7-point favorite against Siena, total 127.5. So very low total here.
Yeah, these are big rivals. So it's hard to really lay points with the favorite because you're going to get a great effort out of the underdogs all the time in these type of series. I have St. Bonnie 10.5, but I didn't give any home court. I think St. Bonnie's will probably have as many people in the stands, but I'm not really interested. Again, I wouldn't have had a bet on the opener. I can only have a bet now because there's been money, and so I don't want to bet against that money in college basketball, so I'll just pass.
Missouri, 17.5-point favorite at home against Jacksonville State, 146.
I'm right there on both the side and total, 17 and 146.5.
Mississippi State, this is at Mississippi Coliseum, so I assume still a home game for them. 20-point favorite, total 148.
Yeah, I made it 17, didn't give any home, and I should have, being played in Mississippi. They should get at least 3 points. So I agree with the number. And the total, I have 142. Not really interested in going under in that game because the home team, Mississippi State, plays fast, and they are very solid offensively. So they could put up a big number in that game.
Seton Hall taking on Villanova. Villanova, 8.5, total 126.
I've got a little bit of a difference here. I have Nova 14.5 and 111.5. A lot of defense for both of these teams. Seton Hall is the team that's been playing very, very low. I'm going to go to their team sheet. They have not had a good year. Shane Holloway's the head coach. He is coaching Seton Hall the same way he coached St. Peter's. And remember, St. Peter's made the run to the NCAA tournament. I think they made it to the Elite Eight. And they played so slow. And they played great defense, but they couldn't score. And their games were extremely high scoring. This Seton Hall team is exactly that St. Peter's team. And they're playing extremely low scoring basketball games. 123 against New Jersey, 129 against Rutgers, 124 against Florida Atlantic. They played a 82 game, 54-28 against Wagner, 49-48 against Hofstra, 57-56. VCU was an overtime game. They were 61-61 with them. And now they're playing a team that doesn't run. Villanova plays extremely slow. So when you start to look at, some of the games that Seton Hall, there were some points scored in. It was against teams that run. Well, Villanova's not running. They are a good offensive team, but they don't run. It's hard to lay points in a game that points are going to be at a premium. But I think Villanova is just the better basketball team, and I think they cover and it goes under.
So 126, yeah, that does feel high for all of those totals you just ran through. VCU really is their one big win so far this year. Florida Atlantic, pretty good win too. But yeah, Seton Hall, a couple bad losses on their resume too. Oklahoma State, Monmouth. So I like that under a lot.
Yeah, no, Seton Hall lost to Fordham and Hofstra early in the year. Their biggest win is VCU. VCU is a good basketball team. On the probably the level of Villanova right now and how Villanova is, but I just like Villanova better at home in this game. Seton Hall has a tough time scoring. I am scoring 48 points, so maybe that's the deal, is to look for a team total and go under in Seton Hall's team total.
I'm gonna check if there is revenge. Oh, yeah, Seton Hall did beat them at home last year. But
I wouldn't give any revenge for that. If Seton Hall won the last 2 years, maybe a little bit of motivation for.
Yeah, they split last year anyway.
Yeah,
so let's go to Wichita State. 15-point favorite, total 148.
We don't have to spend much time there. I'm at 14.5 and 149.
Western Kentucky, 6.5-point favorite. Now that has been bet down. Open 7.5, down to 6.5, total 149.5.
Yeah, I have the total, the side's right there at 6.5. I have the total at 158. Western Kentucky has a new coach, Hank Polona, and he is just running and gunning and going as fast as he possibly can. They're one of the fastest teams in the country. They have played good defense, but you're going to get so many possessions in this game. Their possessions in their games are in the mid-70s, and they're closing in on 80 possessions a game when they play somebody who will run. And Chris Victor with Seattle, he will run. He will push the pace a little bit. So I think this game's a very high-scoring game. I think it goes over the total.
Auburn, 39.5-point favorite with a total of 155.5 against Georgia State.
I have Auburn 34 and 161.5. Not really interested in either the side or the total. Auburn is a really good offensive team. They're playing really good basketball right now, and they could hold Georgia State under what I have them at. If they hold them under 64, the game probably doesn't get over the total.
Another neutral site here, Kansas State and Drake. Kansas State, 1-point favorite, total 134.5.
Two really good teams, two good coaches. Ben McCollum, though, he's first year at Drake. I think he's going to do a very good job there. He started undefeated, but they really haven't played anybody yet. This is maybe their biggest game they played this year. And Jerome Tang, we know we've seen him. We saw him in the NCAA tournament. Drake is playing slow basketball. I've got this under. I made Kansas State 3 and 118.5. I got a big underplay on this game. And if you look at what Drake has done so far this year, one of the slowest teams in the country and one of the better defensive teams, and their offense is extremely weak. Kansas State will run a little bit, but they just play really good defense. So that's another nice total. I like under
134.5 under in that one, and a neutral site can help that as well, right?
Yeah, that they have not played there. I just clicked off. I wanted to tell you the neutral site, and they're playing in Kansas City, Missouri at the arena. So that may be Kansas State a little bit of a home edge there in that game. And I made them 3 with no home. I would probably make this game 5. I would lean to Kansas State.
Okay.
Drake hasn't lost a game yet, so Kansas State has their attention.
Yes, most definitely. Ohio State, 21-point favorite, total 151.
I got a 20 and 152. We can move on.
Western Illinois, 2-point favorite against Tennessee Tech, 139.
I have it pick and 135.5. Really no interest in the game. The home team plays extremely slow, but 2 bad defenses. So can't go under with 2 bad defenses.
Utah State, 9.5 against UC San Diego, 150.5 is the total.
I have it 8 and 153.5, and Utah State's running. They're playing very fast. Both teams are better offensively than they are on the defensive end, but I don't have enough of a difference to have an edge.
Lean to the over there in that one. Oregon State, 20.5, total 130.
I have it 19.5, 135.5. Not really interested in the over because Sacramento State is a horrendous offensive team. And I don't think I'm going to get pace out of Oregon State, so I'll pass that.
Stanford, 16-point favorite at home, total 135.5 against Merrimack.
I have them 12.5, 133.5. I didn't look at the motivation to see who Stanford plays next because, and Merrimack, this is a tough travel for them all the way to Northern California. Really not interested in the dog. It wasn't a play on the open. It's been bet up. So again, not going to bet against the other professional college basketball bettors. I'll pass.
Stanford does have Oregon up next on Saturday.
It's a big game.
And then they have a nice little Clemson-Pittsburgh. So 3 tough games coming up.
ACC battles after that.
Yes. We've got last game on the board. Denver taking on Cal Poly, 10.5-point favorite at home, 162.
I made it 7.5, so it was bet up to a play. I'll pass that. I made the total 161. Cal Poly, one of the faster teams in the country. They love to get up and down. Both teams' offenses are a little better than their defenses, but nothing really to make a huge, difference to make this game go over. So I'll just pass.
A lot of good plays that you just gave us through there. We're going to have to go over them and pick favorite overs. I know there was favorite unders, majority unders, 1 over.
Yeah, again, be careful this time of year because, again, these are college kids going through exams. They got Christmas. They got family coming into town. And, it's not the same as when conference starts in January when you get complete focus out of these kids.
Although I would say a lot of these teams, their non-con schedules are pretty crazy, trying to make a case to having a great resume. So those are some games, like you said, the motivation, knowing the rivalries, things like that.
Well, out of the games I talked about, Clemson, South Carolina, hate each other. So I know I'm going to get a good effort out of those 2 teams. Seton Hall, Villanova, they don't like each other. They're pretty close in proximity, and it is a conference game. I think you're going to get that slow down, low possession game with Seton Hall missing every shot.
And the Tar Heels getting points. We like that one as well.
And they're playing in Charlotte. So that one, I may like the other one a little bit better. Kansas State laying a short number, playing in Kansas City. They will have way more fans. And Drake is undefeated, but they haven't played anybody yet. I think this will be the most difficult game they've had this year. So I like Kansas State.
Ooh, okay. We've got 13 minutes. Let's take a quick 1-minute break. We do want to get to the Indiana Notre Dame game for college football, give out our top 10, and get our whiteboards ready to close up the show. But don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. 1-minute break here on Sports by the Book.
South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
Welcome back, everybody. Sports by the Book here at the South Point studio. Alex White, Kenny White, 12 more minutes here with you. We are going to go over our top 10 in college football, give you our best plays of the day, and go over Indiana and Notre Dame, the first playoff game here coming up this weekend. Before we get there, do you have your bowl numbers of what you made this game tonight between Memphis and West Virginia?
Yeah, very important. And the one thing that I didn't get a chance to look at, I was trying to find, I believe Rich Rodriguez has taken the job at West Virginia.
Yes, he's going back, right?
So there's been money for Memphis. So I'm guessing there's been some kids left the program probably.
So offensive coordinator Chad Scott will serve as interim head coach for the bowl game for West Virginia. There are quite a few players that are opting out. Well, potential opt-outs.
Yes, I don't see many on my injury list that I'm looking at. I have West Virginia 0.5 point favorite in 60.5. I'll take the 5.5. Actually, it's up to 6 now.
Yeah,
they're 6. So when I see that, I'm guessing that there may be some people leaving. But with Rich Rodriguez coming in, I just don't understand why anybody would leave. You're getting a good head coach. You're getting a guy that knows what he's doing, and he's won there before.
Mm-hmm.
So really kind of surprised, but maybe a lot of players like the coach that's out, and maybe they're transferring. But I don't really see that many in the portal. So I'll take West Virginia +6.
Okay. And yeah, Neil Brown was there, no longer there at West Virginia. See where he goes next. Okay, let's go to our top 10 quickly, and then we will get to Indiana and Notre Dame. Now and we can go through your top 10 if you actually want to pull up for your 134 college football teams, but I just threw up of the 12 teams that are playing, so we'll jump with mine first. So Oregon is still the number 1 team. I do have some ties here going down this list, but let me pull it up so I don't get this wrong either. Oregon, number 1. I have Texas and Ohio State tied at number 2. 4, Notre Dame and Georgia, which I might be a little low on Georgia. Penn State and Tennessee, I have them with the same power rating at number 6. SMU comes in here at number 8. Clemson, 9, and Indiana, 10, leaving just 2 teams out. Now, of course, I bumped them up. SMU, Clemson, and Indiana were not originally in my top 10 of all of the teams, but of the teams that are playing. We'll go to yours, and maybe you do want to pull up if you have your spreadsheet there, because I don't want to confuse you too much with what your top 10 really looks like.
So this is the top 10 that are still playing in the college football playoff?
Yes. Top 10 in the college football playoff.
Okay. So, there's only 12 teams, right?
There's only 12. So just two get left out. So my last two were Arizona State and Boise State.
I was looking at yours, were kind of interesting because I have a play in this Indiana Notre Dame game, the Friday night game. But I have Oregon number 1 in the country still, Georgia 2, Texas 3, Ohio State 4, Tennessee 5, Alabama not in. Notre Dame I have would be the 6th best team in the country, and we'll tied with Penn State. They're right there. SMU be next, Indiana, Clemson, and then Arizona State.
Yeah,
would be my top 10 in a row there. So I noticed that I think you had Notre Dame 4 and Indiana like 10. I've got them much closer.
Yeah.
In mine right now, 4 points difference, but man, this is, I feel like a game that I didn't go back to look, but I feel like this is a game that Indiana has probably tried to play Notre Dame 100 times, and Notre Dame has turned them down 99. And maybe they've played one time over the years, but Indiana would love to play this game every year because Notre Dame's the most popular team in the state. So I feel like this is the Super Bowl for Indiana.
So I have a 5.5 point difference between Notre Dame and Indiana. Notre Dame 127.5, Indiana 122. Curious on how much home field you did give to Notre Dame.
I believe I gave like 3 points to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because on the year, your typical home field rate for Notre Dame would be about 5.
Yeah, 5.5, even that high. But just playing in the state, there'll be a lot of Indiana Hoosier fans in the stands in this game. They're gonna pay money. Notre Dame will obviously have the majority of fans in this game. And what did I make it? I do have the game 8 and 51.5 on my sheet, but I don't like to bet favorites, and it's such a big rivalry. I feel like I didn't go back to look, and I should. I'll do that. I'll tell you when I look today, if that's the case, that Indiana and Notre Dame haven't played a lot. And I just feel like this is a game that Indiana would love to have. So I would give 2.5 just for that revenge factor, or the rivalry factor. And again, these are games like they call it over in the pond a derby game. In the UK, when they're playing a soccer game of two rivals, it doesn't matter how good they are or how bad the one team is. They call it a derby game for a reason, that you throw out all the stats because anything can happen. That underdog is so live in that game. And I think there's so much pressure in this game, and I really believe who has nothing to lose? Indiana. Notre Dame has everything to lose in this football game.
It's very ironic because I've heard a lot of people that are all over Notre Dame. And Brian, if you don't mind putting up that college football playoff bracket that you have there, because a lot of people love the road here for Notre Dame. They have Indiana, then they have Georgia with no Carson Beck. And on the flip side, you've got SMU going up against Penn State, and then they have Boise State. So looking at that bottom section, people love Notre Dame. Of those 2, 4, 6 teams to come out on that side to be playing for the championship. So that would stir up a lot if the first game on Friday night Indiana had that upset. But you're not necessarily calling for an upset. You're just saying take the points. 7 points is a lot of points here.
Yeah, it's a lot of points. I would still, just making an adjustment, I take off 20% of the favorite. I'll do that after I take off the 2.5 points for the rivalry and make the game 4.5. So I still think Notre Dame wins, but I think it's going to be a close game.
I'm going to see what my line is here too.
And I'll give you, if these are the 2 quarterback stats. One quarterback, I'm not going to give you the name.
Okay.
66% completions, 7.1 yards a pass, 16 touchdowns, 5 INTs. The other quarterback, 70%. 9.9 yards, 27 touchdowns to just 4 interceptions. Who do you want?
The second one.
Yeah, the guy that threw 70%, 9.9 yards a pass, that'd be Curtis Rourke.
We could throw up that graphic right here that we have of these two and all those numbers that you just mentioned, because a lot of us are visual. So seeing those right there head to head, Very, very impressive. Both of them 2-0 touchdown interception median on the year
So
per game.
You did medians for me.
I did
Those?
medians. The
263 yards. Yeah. Now, Riley Leonard for Notre Dame is a dual threat quarterback. He did run for 721 yards this year. So the other thing is Marcus Freeman was just granted a gigantic contract by Notre Dame just recently.
Before they even play.
Yes, before they even played this game. So, seen this happen many times. The guy gets the contract and then they lose. You know, you kind of exhale. But they know they're playing a good team and they know it's an in-state rivalry. So I think they'll be well prepared. And it should be a great game, though. It's going to be a lot of fun. My team rankings.
Well, let's go to their medians really quick. This is their medians points for. Now, Indiana, this is their road. Median points for on the road, 42.
Yep.
Points against, 19.
Yep.
And then Notre Dame, 33 at home. Median, and then opponents points 10.5. So very good defense there for Notre Dame, but haven't had the toughest schedule either. Do you have the strength of schedule for these two? Probably very similar.
Both are. It is very similar. All games I have in Indiana's average opponent's been a 108, 8 points above average, and Notre Dame's a 107, 7 points above average. You know, it really is interesting, and I told you to break down, you know, home and away on these teams. And when I broke down home and away on my performance rating, Indiana came out a 122, and Notre Dame at home a 116.5. Notre Dame on the year is a 123.5. They haven't played a lot of road games, played a couple of neutral games, but neither team has played a lot of road games.
No.
But it seems they've both, or Indiana has played much better as a road team than Notre Dame has played as a home team. Marcus Freeman led up earlier this year and lost to Northern Illinois. It seemed like he did that a couple times his first 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to let up in this game. He's going to be well prepared, but I really think this is a really close game, and I love Curtis Rourke and the numbers he's put up, and it's been against good competition, as good as Notre Dame has played.
Let's go to your rankings now, and then I do want to ask you about the total here. It's sitting at 51. It has been bet up a little bit, right? There was 50 and a half earlier, and that's where my total is, but I'm curious at how much you think I should take off of my total for a game like this. So looking at your rankings here, you've got Indiana offense.
Indiana offense, number 11. Their defense, number 21, and as a team, 12th overall, a 120 rating. And then Notre Dame, I have 8th best offense, 3rd best defense, 7th overall, 124 rating. So I guess I really took off the 1.5 already because it should have been 9.5. I took off the 1.5 to make it 8. So it should be about 5.5 is what I would have this game. Still like the dog, though.
Still like the dog. I made it.
My total 51.5. So you mentioned the totals.
Yours is 51.5?
Yeah.
See, I've got it higher. I've got 56. But looking at your rankings right there for the Fighting Irish, too, and holding opponents to 10.5. Those quarterback numbers, two really good quarterbacks. Can we get the offense in this?
Indiana's been a great over team this year because the quarterback play by Rourke. When you look at their median score, 42-14 on the year of all games, Notre Dame's is identical, 42-14. So that's 56. That comes out to that number. But again, as we talked about the NBA Cup and the games being more important, there's a little more pressure. And coaches get more conservative, too, in those pressure situations. So it's not just the players feeling the pressure, the coaches feel the pressure, and that conservative play leads to under. So, yeah, I wouldn't suggest I would suggest taking maybe 5 points off the total because of that.
Indiana, that was an ugly game against Ohio State where they definitely felt the pressure and were trying to play too conservative. I think, like you said, nothing to lose here in this one.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they learned a lot from that game.
Yes.
Playing on the road against Ohio State. They were even in the turnover battle. That was one of their weaker performances of the entire year, but you learn a lot from a loss. Notre Dame hasn't lost a game since the second week of the season against Northern Illinois. I think Indiana learned a lot. So they have a really talented football team. I think they'll be in this game.
I like it. I can take off a little bit because I did give them too much for home field, but now I'm right there at that 7. But I think that is still a good play there with the dog getting a full touchdown too. Do you want to go through your plays with your whiteboard?
Yes.
Still need to write a few of mine.
I might have. So I'm taking a tie for last night's Raider game since the entire world got +6. I should have said to wait because that's what I did. I didn't bet it right away. It would never take 5.5. There's no reason to when you know that there's going to be money for the favorite. So I took 6, so I'm taking the tie. 2, 3, and 1. And Vancouver was plus $1.30. I could really say 2.3, 3 and 1. College basketball, as I mentioned, you want to make sure you find games that these teams are motivated to play. Clemson, South Carolina, big rivals, both play good defense. I've got a 6-point edge there under the total, under 133.5. And then Seton Hall, Villanova, a conference game with Seton Hall, who plays so slow and plays really good defense, under that total of 126. And then 2 sides in the college basketball. North Carolina playing in Charlotte against an undefeated Florida team. I think they give them their first loss. And then Kansas State playing in Kansas City against Drake, who's undefeated.
You forgot one.
-1.5.
And you forgot one NBA game. Is that making your board?
It's not as good a play, I don't think, even though it is a big game. I do like the Bucks plus 5. Okay. I'll put the Bucks on the board. Bucks +5.
That's okay. They made my board.
Well, I'm not going to put it on the board because that may be.
They made my board, so that's okay. So I've got the Rangers. I'm taking the plus money here, fading Nashville +120. I'm going over in the Blue Jackets in the Lightning game, over 6 or 6.5 if that's the best number that you can get. I'm going with your Tar Heels +3.5 against Florida, Bucks +5 against the Thunder, and then Dame Lillard over 33.5 points, assists, and rebounds because that is already in the account. So
I need to look and make sure. So I'm going to change my number on the board. It's not fair to put 4 because there are no 4s on North Carolina. I don't want to, and I'm not buying. Don't buy. Chris and Vinny will be like, don't tell them that. We want them buying half points. So I'm going to go back. I'm +3.5 on North Carolina. You are correct.
Okay. Yes. And that's why I did the 6.5 too. Cause if you don't have that one account, that's the best number that you can get for that total.
And don't tease college football.
Don't tease college football. We could get 14 though with Indiana. Okay. That's it. That's, Sports by the Book for the day. Please make sure and follow us on all of our social media. It is Sports by the Book everywhere. Sports by the Book LV on Instagram. Follow our personal Twitter accounts and follow Bet the Gambit so you can catch Kenny White every day, 7 a.m. We'll be back tomorrow, 9 a.m. right here, same spot at noon. Frank Nicotero, Punchlines. Go to Punchlines FN. He will be back at noon today. Thank you all so much for joining us. We'll be back again tomorrow, 9 a.m. here on Sports by the Book.